All right, everybody, welcome back to the HVNN, your one stop for hugely valuable nerd news, or the Hudson Valley Nerd Network. And we're going to talk today about the first couple of episodes of Knights of the Seven Kingdom and whether or not you guys have joined them. Let me know, comment below. I want to hear your opinions. But here's mine. So, first off, I think a big, huge surprise to a lot of Game of Thrones fans. If you're not a fan of the books, A Song of Ice and Fire, and all the novellas and spin offs, the tones that we've seen in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon have been these big dynastic epics with dragons and huge fights and battles. And like one of the things I love most about this show is like right out the gate, if you watch it, that first episode, that beginning crawl where they bring the music. And then there's that one scene that just tells you right now that this is going to be a totally different show. And I think they kind of try to shit on your expectations, to say the least. But it's a pretty graphic scene, and I think it just sets the tone. And actually, personally, I love it. I love that they know that they can do some of these smaller, more character-driven stories that are set in the Song of Ice and Fire world that the fans are looking for. These shows will be a lot less expensive, a lot less pressure on the studio, and definitely the more they have of these types of stories, the more people will keep coming back for more Games of Thrones. And Night of the Seven Kingdoms takes place pretty much between House of the Dragon and the Game of Thrones epic. So this is a time where there's no more dragons. The dragons are all dead. The Targaryens are still in power, but things are changing, and you kind of see that in the backdrop of the story. But it's really about the main characters, Dunk and Egg, and their story. The main story is driven by Dunk and Egg. You have Peter Claffey as Sir Duncan the Tall. You have Dexter Sol Ansel as Egg, his loyal squire, and their adventures through Westeros. And the chemistry between those two, I have to say, is wonderful. I see critically it's being praised already. They're a heartwarming duo, and they're both heartwarming characters, which is unlike a lot of things in the Game of Thrones. Most characters are pretty cynical and flawed. And not that these characters don't have any type of flaws, but they're genuinely good people, and they're fun to root for already. And I can tell the enthusiasm behind the two of their adventures is high from the fans. And a big shout out to Daniel Ings as Sir Lionel Baratheon in the first episode. He's turning heads. He's got a lot of attention, and he definitely was a breakout part of that first episode. So if you didn't know, this is taken from the Dunk and Egg novellas that George R.R. Martin wrote, that are definitely a total different vibe than the big, like I said earlier, sprawling, epics, where this is more of like a quirky adventure of these two. It's quieter, it's smaller, and it's really rich. It's a lot of fun, and the novellas were great. I enjoyed them thoroughly. They're right up there with some of the best Game of Thrones novels, in my opinion. And I think it's refreshing, and I think it's nice to see that they can do other things in the Westeros, in the Song of Ice and Fire world. So like no dragons. This is no Night Walkers. So you're not going to have any of that type of intrigue. It's a different type of show. It's really about a personal journey. There's warm humor, and I don't think fans really expected that. I'm glad that they're reacting well to it. This first season is going to be 6 episodes. It's already renewed for a second season. I think the one thing a lot of people were upset about was the length of the season and the length of the episodes. But remember, these are novellas, and it doesn't look like they're going to be putting in too much filler. They're sticking to the story. So let's see where it goes. And I'm not sure how many seasons they're going to plan to do the entire novella. But like I said, it was a short story, so there shouldn't be too much going on. So, I think the size of the episodes and seasons are going to reflect that. What did you guys think? Do you like the lighter tone? Do you like, the energy behind the show? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. We'll do some more updates on this season as it goes through. The first 2 episodes are out now. Definitely stop what you're doing and watching them. May your sword stay sharp and your story stay epic. We'll be checking back in here with the nerds at the Hudson Valley Nerd Network. All right. Talk to you soon.